Welcome to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast, where we are building a community of people who are in the midst of midlife, sharing our stories and learning from each other along the way. Each week, I'll have a guest join me to discuss a topic that impacts our lives and touches on some aspect of midlife. We'll discuss relationships, transitions, health and well-being, parenting, careers, and more. My goal is to encourage and support you and help you thrive as you navigate this adventure of midlife. Join me here each week for the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. Welcome back to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. This week, I'm speaking with Deb Sternhagen. Deb is a wife, mom, and Oma to 8 grandchildren, and she is turning 50 this year. We speak about how this milestone birthday is impacting her role as mother to her 4 children and how this next decade might look different for her. Deb shared how she's looking forward to traveling more and watching her children continue to grow and build their own lives. She also shared how she wants to be as prepared as she can be for this next chapter and finding activities she enjoys. Turning 50 is a big milestone, and if you are turning 50 this year, I hope you celebrate how far you have come and you're looking forward to this next stage of your life. Hey, Deb Sternhagen, welcome to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited for you to be here too. We were talking, and it's been a while since we've seen each other. We're on a Zoom call right now, so we can see each other, but that we've talked, and which is a shame. But I'm glad we're here together today.
Yes, me too. I'm excited.
Before we get started, would you just take a moment to introduce yourself to the listeners, a little bit about your family, what you do, about who you are?
Sure. Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name's Deb Sternhagen, and I am a married mother of 4. So I've been with my husband. We've been married for 23 years this year, together.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it just feels like you blink and it goes by. And I have 4 amazing kids and 8 amazing grandkids. Two hyper crazy dogs that hopefully you don't in the background. And then, I work in technology. So I've been in the technology field and the product management space for most of my career. I've done technology. So that's currently what I'm doing. I work for a nonprofit company out of Virginia. So
that is great. How do you find working remotely? I work remotely from clients that I support. How is that for you?
Almost everybody that I have worked with since COVID has been remote. And so even if I was in the office, most of the people I work with are in other countries or other parts of the country. And so it's not a big deal. It's just something we've gotten used to. I commuted for 20 some years. And so it's really nice not having to commute. I have very much enjoyed
that. Yeah, I used to prior life had a job where I commuted, and to not have that is just awesome.
Yeah,
it is. It's a big change to your life, your quality of life, your lifestyle.
Yeah, you don't realize how much time it takes out of your day and how much more you can actually get done. So I enjoy it. I like it.
Yeah, same. I'm with you on that. Well, we know each other because we went to school together. I think from little itty bitty elementary school all the way up through high school. Class of 1992, Monticello, go Panthers.
Go Panthers.
Shout out to the class of 1992. Woohoo. 34 years we've been out.
That's insanity. Yeah, it's crazy.
Insane to me. Do you ever have this happen to you where someone will say, oh yeah, 30 years ago, and I'll think like 1970s.
Yes.
1980s. And it's like, no, that was the 90s.
I was an adult 30 years ago. That's madness.
No, can't be happening. But here we are. And we're here specifically, actually, to talk about a big milestone birthday that both of you and I are experiencing this year. We're turning 50. And I'm doing this turning 50 series because again, we were talking before about this just feels like a big milestone, even more so than 40. You know, they always say 30 and then 40 and now, but 50. I mean, that just feels different to me. I
It
don't know
does.
about you.
Yeah, ages and birthdays have never been anything that has bothered me before or I've ever really thought about, except for this one, and now it's quickly approaching and I'm wow, how did this happen so quickly? How did life just go by so quickly? And I think this one I'm just putting a lot more thought into like where I'm at in my life, and what it means. So it is a crazy, crazy number. And I've always said to people like, oh, big deal, it's 50, oh, big deal, whatever. But now I'm here and I'm like, wow, that's insanity.
It is. I am so with you. I feel exactly the same. I always thought that 50, okay, it's a number or it's this, but when you're actually coming upon it yourself, it really does kind of take you back and make you step back and look at things in a little bit different way. And so I just thought it'd be fascinating to talk to people who are turning 50 like I am this year. So thank you for being on. And we're just kind of talking about this. How is it feeling to you to turn 50? What does this feel like in your life, where you're at in your life right now?
Surreal. And I think partially because my kids are grown, mostly out of the house. This is the first milestone birthday where my kids aren't taking up every moment of my time. And I think that's why it's hitting me so hard. Um, Looking back, I look back at 40 and 30 and how crazy life was. And it's not that life's not crazy still today. It's just a different kind of crazy. So I think that, that's where I'm really kind of it's slapping me in the face that it's right there. And it's because my kids are out on their own. They're becoming adults, they're building their lives. And where does that put me?
Mhm.
My entire life has been spent being the mother. And this next decade is just it's gonna be a different view. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I love that. I completely agree with you. I think not only is it a big milestone, but it's a different season. It's a totally different season of life where when the kids are grown and moving out and starting their own lives and have their own families and their own things going on, and then you're kind of going, okay, well, what does that mean for me? Yes, still busy, work and family and all of that, but where does that leave me in terms of my time? Do I have things going on in my life that are for me? You've dedicated your life to being a mom and a wife and an employee and all these things. And now here you are, taking on this new decade. And what does that look like? And what does that mean? So when you're thinking about that or this next, decade of life, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to or that you are anticipating maybe with some excitement or something that you've been thinking like, oh, I'd really like to do this or go here or is
Yeah.
any of that for you?
Yeah. So I mean, as I mentioned, I have several grandkids already. And just this next phase is really focused on building that part of my life up and
Mhm.
spending time with my grandkids and watching them grow. It's a different world being a grandparent as opposed to being a parent, as everybody will tell you. You can love them and then, they go home.
Send them back.
But the freedom that comes with not having to constantly spend all your time focusing on your kids and doing things for them. So I'm really excited for that part of things, being able to travel and to go do things. My husband and I are, we always talk about vacations. Of course, my kids all still want to go on vacations with us, which is great.
Yeah.
But just, really having the ability, to say, you know what, we're going to take off and we're going to go do this. Um, that's really exciting to me. And just watching my kids continue to grow, it's probably the proudest part of the first 50 years of my life are my kids
Mhm.
and the people that they've become, and watching them continue to grow in their families and in their lives. So
I
I'm really
love
looking forward
that.
to that.
Well, and I feel like even as our children get older, we never truly stop parenting, right?
No.
Even if they're in their 20s, their 30, as they grow and mature and build their own lives, I think that there's still some parenting that happens, there, that whether it's just giving a listening ear if they're having a problem, or if they ask you for some advice or guidance on something that it's just different. And I think I remember when I had my son and he was in his crib and I looked down at him and I asked my mom, when do you stop worrying about them? And she's like, never. She's like, they're always your kids, no matter if they're 10, 30, 40, 50, 60, they're always your children. So there's still parenting happening, even when kids are grown up and, in their own homes and starting their own families.
Yes, without a doubt. I've always said that being a parent is a blessing and a curse, because it's not 18 years.
No.
It's life that you worry about them even when they tell you not to. You still
Right.
worry.
I'm good, mom. I'm good. Just back off.
Yep.
Let me do this. Yeah.
And then you throw grandkids on top of it, and it just amplifies all of it. But
Yeah.
it's great. I wouldn't change anything in the world for any of that worry. So
I love that. I love that so much. Oh, that's so great. Now, with kind of a side note, are you grandma? Are you Nana? Are you Gigi? What are you? What is your grandma name?
I'm Oma.
Oma. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Was that like intentional, or did that just kind of organically?
It was intentional.
Yeah.
When my first granddaughter was born, or before she was born, we're like, hey, what should we be called and stuff. And my daughter was like, just let's do Oma. And I'm like, perfect. I don't care what it is, right?
I'm just
So
thrilled to
it
get to have
stuck.
a grandchild.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it just stuck.
Awesome. I love it. I love that. So we talked about kind of the joys or things that you're enjoying about this stage and anticipating turning 50. On the other hand, what are some things that you are finding challenging, or that you might anticipate being a little more challenging, or maybe something you didn't expect in this stage? Is there anything like that happening for you at all?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple things, right? So we just talked about, we never stop worrying as a parent. And when they're no longer in your house and you no longer can see them all the time, I feel like for me, that worry amplifies a little bit more.
Mhm.
And that's just not going to get any better because they're not coming back home. But the other thing is, I've been thinking a lot, am I ready for this next chapter of my life? Am I ready for this impending retirement that I'm, excited for, that I've been building for so many years? It's so much closer now than it was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And it starts getting a little bit scary almost. Like, am I ready for that? What am I going to do? Are we going to have enough money to survive? Are we going to have
Right.
enough, life to live? And I think that part is probably the scariest to me. It's just the unknown and not sure how ready I am for it. You see all of these people retiring and moving on to that next part of their life, and I don't know how that's going to work for me. And I think that's a little bit scary.
I agree. I think that when we've spent so much of our lives working in a job, whether you're working inside the home, outside the home, and then that day comes where you're, retired, or you don't have that routine to go to every day, it's this question of, okay, now what? And when you've been a mom and your time has been so focused on kids, you're like, what interests did I have before kids? What did I like to do? What were those things that filled my time? And it's really hard to sometimes remember those things, because upon retirement, it's like, okay, I have all of this time, which is a blessing, right? Aging is a privilege to get to age. Not everybody gets to. So how do I use this time now that I'm going to have to the best that I can, and
Yeah.
find things I enjoy again, that are for me. And that's just different for everyone. Some people have a lot of that, and some of us put so much to the side during our child rearing years that looking at that can be a little daunting. So I can definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's you spend so much time not focusing on yourself. And then, these are the years where we are supposed to focus on ourselves. And I don't know what that looks like. I know that I have taken up a love for birds, and my family gives me a hard time
Awesome.
about that because I'm like bird feeders everywhere.
That's great.
So I become that person that sits on the deck and watches birds and takes pictures of them. And I think that's a midlife thing, right? So I'm starting
Oh
to
yeah.
appreciate more things that I never cared to notice before. And the stars, just sitting on the deck looking at the stars. I mean, just simple things like that that I was so busy before that now I have time for.
Yeah.
So continuing on that, doing a garden, things like that. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to find things that, um, will take up my time and make me feel like I'm being productive,
Right.
but also enjoying.
Right. Slowing down a little bit. The pace doesn't have to be as frantic as when you're working and you
Yes.
have all these things going on. You can slow down. I know I've talked to someone who retired a while ago, and she said, what's great about it is that I can pick and choose how I want to spend my time. I don't have to be at a desk at a certain time at my job. If I want to spend the morning slowly waking up and going for a walk and then, doing different things, she's like, I get to choose how busy I am or how unbusy I am. And that's so freeing. There's such a
Yeah.
freedom there. But I agree with you. There is that fear of the unknown because we have had such structured lives for so long when you're working. And then all of a sudden there's all this time in front of you and you're like, wow, okay, how do I make the best use of the time that I have and feel fulfilled, but also how do I slow down a little bit and truly,
Yeah.
like you said, take in the world around me and enjoy that. So
Yes, for
I
sure.
agree. I
I'm
love
getting there.
I love that. So if you were talking to someone who, so maybe in their 20s, 30s, maybe even early 40s, they haven't hit their fifth decade or aren't anticipating the fifth decade yet, like we are. Do you have any thoughts of advice or guidance? What would you tell them as they're starting to think about middle age and being 50? Is there anything you would want someone to know?
Yeah, I think, what I tell my kids, because two of the kids are in their early 30s, um, and they have families and it's crazy. They're in the middle of that crazy time in their lives.
Mhm.
What I tell them and what I suggest to people is I know it's hectic. I know it's crazy. I know it's overwhelming and it's hard to stand back and just take it in, but the time goes fast.
Mhm.
And it's okay to take a breath. It's okay to step back and just look around and enjoy the moment, even when it's chaotic and it's crazy and you feel like, everything's falling apart. It's okay. Take a breath. It'll get better. You'll get past it, but don't take things for granted in that time because it does go very quickly.
Yes, I could not agree with you more. There's that saying, the days are long and the years are short, and they do. It really truly does fly. I think, especially once your kids are in school, those school years go so quick, and then all of a sudden they're graduating and they're, out in the world and doing things and working and going to school, and then all of a sudden they, might get married and start having their own families. It really does fly. And I think what you're saying is so, so important about really taking a breather, taking a breath. And how many times, I think I should have done that and taken a step back and I didn't. And yeah, I love that advice. I think that's really, really well said. You said that so well. Um, and it's hard, right? When you've got a million things, even I think for us, you know, we're turning 50 and life, like you said at the beginning, when we were talking, it's still busy.
Mhm.
And so for us to really be conscious in doing that too, easier said than done, I know,
Yes.
but
Yep.
but doing that, you're talking about enjoying birds and birding, and there's so much you can do with that. But I mean, I see all these things about bird walks and places at the nature center and different things. So that would actually be really cool really cool thing to get into. But yeah, just taking that time, for ourselves and doing that. I love that. Is there anything else that you would want someone to know, or anything they should think about or anticipate or anything like that?
I think the other thing that I try and instill in my kids is it's a very money-driven world that we live in. We all grow up chasing the dollar, which is normal, but do what you love at the same time. Find something that you love and push forward with that, because at the end of the day, that's going to be your life for so many of you, the years that you're here. So, try and enjoy everything that you do as well, don't just get sucked into what the money has to offer.
Right. I love that. Yeah, I think, having the ability to support yourself is important, but I think it's real easy to get caught up in seeing what so-and-so is doing over there, or the kind of house they have, or and not even just material things, but just having, money to do other things. Yes, of course, we all have to, pay our bills and support ourselves and all that. But if you can truly find something that you love, whether it ends up being your career or just a passion project that you have as a hobby, that goes so far in life to keeping you fulfilled and having a purpose. I think a lot of times we forget truly, what is our purpose here? And our job may not be our purpose. It might be a means to an end, right? To support ourselves and pay bills and the mortgage and all that kind of thing. But we all have a purpose. We're all called to something. And if you can find that, if you end up doing it for a career, that's like, you've really,
Right.
that's awesome. But most of us, it's something maybe outside of our work. And it's something that we do, whether it's, something with our churches or in our communities or whatever the case may be. And having something like that is huge. Yeah, that is such great advice, especially I think for the younger set who are just really getting started. It's easy, I think, for them to get caught up in, oh gosh, I have to make this much money, and everything's so expensive, and I have to be able to do this and do that. And they see what their friends are doing over here, and it's a lot of pressure. And so those young folks out there, I don't know if I have a lot of younger folks listening to this, but if you or someone which is probably a lot of the listeners, have younger people in their life, that's a great message.
Yeah.
I love that.
It just goes fast.
It does. It goes really fast. Is there anything else about turning 50 that you would want listeners to know, or anything you're feeling or experiencing right now? Or did we kind of cover all the bases?
I'm just trying to, I'm not going to let it scare me, right? It's unknown, but it's exciting. Like you said before, growing old is a privilege. And so it's just the next phase and how we adapt to it. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited for what it has to bring. And, I'm looking forward to it. And then 60 is going to be right around the corner. So
yes, it is. I think you're August.
September.
September. That's right. Because you were one of our youngest kids in our class, I think.
I am the youngest in the class.
Yeah. Student person. Yes. Gosh, I think of us as, we're still in high school. What the heck?
Right.
All these 80s like fashion, like clothes are coming back now. I'm like, really? Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Right.
I love it. Secretly, I kind of love it.
Right.
We looked good. Like I pulled up an old picture of myself. I put it up on a podcast I did with my sister's business partner about 80s music. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that hair was a little high, but I mean, overall.
I think we should bring the high hair back.
I do.
Big hair.
Spray out, teasing, all the things, right? All the curling irons, the sizzling, what we did to our hair back then. Oh my gosh, it's a wonder.
Yeah.
Still, some of us have hair, giving all the product and burning and curling iron. All the things we did. Oh, bless. I tell you, well, Deb, this has been so much fun. I really enjoyed talking with you about this. Happy birthday early. We're recording right now here at the end of May. So you've got a few months left in the 40s, but you're coming up on 50 fast. I'm so excited for what this next decade has to bring for all of us. And I just appreciate you being on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great.
It has. Take care. Thanks so much. If you're enjoying the podcast, please follow the show to make sure the latest episode is on your podcast feed each week. I would greatly appreciate a rating and a 5-star review on the podcast platform you're listening on. It helps others to find the show. If there are topics you'd like me to discuss on the show, please email me at themarvelousmiddleagepodcast@gmail.com or direct message me on Instagram at Nicole Stute. Thank you for listening.